you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach him to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. But not in Africa. I am an African. So we teach a young African to fish. But what if he has no pond? Okay, or we teach young Africans to fish, and now what we have is 100 Africans all sitting around the same pond fishing till the fish run out, because they have no way of restocking that pond. And so then we're back to basically giving them a fish, either to stock the pond or to feed them to keep them alive. Because the truth is, what are we doing? We're giving them a fish, and then we're teaching to fish, and we're taking from abject poverty where this young man's fighting for his life, and we're ejecting him into a perpetual poverty. We've ejected him into a place where he lives in a more comfortable version of poverty for longer. But we haven't created something that makes a fundamental change, a systemic change that allows for that true development. $1 trillion put into Africa, yet we end up with a situation that is no better or maybe even worse. Simply because we haven't understood fish and fishing. So this leads us to models of aid that teach a man to fish. The microfinance revolution being an important part of that. Or maybe even the best case scenario, we teach him to fish, he changes the whole dynamic, he goes from having 100 fish to 1,000 fish, and we call this an overwhelming success. But the reality is, we haven't changed his market access. And that is why microfinance is so good, and it's done many great things, but it's not enough. So what else is required? What we believe is required is that we have to create business. We have to stimulate commercial activity. We've got to invest in infrastructure. We've got to invest in Africa. It's got to be about Africans doing it for Africa. Africans doing it for themselves. It's about our continent taking its rightful place in the future history of the world. It's not about charity. It's about justice. It's not about charity. It's about commercial investment and economic opportunity. I want to introduce you to a concept that we're calling transitional finance. Something that builds on the top of giving fish and teaching to fish, and brings in the final component that is so critical to the whole process. It's something that we believe is really going to make it possible to be able to take people from below the threshold of the cycle of poverty and bring them into a truly new dynamic. So what transitional finance does is it provides this intense investment, but not in cash, in services we can provide him over a 4-year period with the ability to totally transform his life, with the ability to step in to being commercially viable, processed in that country and sold to the highest bidder on the international market for that commodity. What does that do? That totally transforms the whole situation. What it does is it creates the future history.